What's going on, everybody? GemMint here with today's new comic book day reviews. It's Wednesday, February 23rd, and as always, gonna go through this week's books, at least what I read, as spoiler-free as possible. Now, it is Whatnot Wednesday. The Whatnot Wednesday crew is still going live today, starting at 3 p.m. Pacific. I'm taking the day off, however, because it is Fee's birthday, so give Fee some birthday love in the comments, and I will be back on Whatnot tomorrow, Thursday, at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. I got a dope show for you guys, so make sure to come check me out. With that being said, let's jump into the DC books first. And these are the books that I read most recently, so hopefully they're the most clear on my mind. And we're going to start with Black Label, Refrigerator Full of Heads, issue number 4, Rio Ewers, Tom Fowler, Craig Taylor, and Bill Crabtree. So this is the follow-up to Basket Full of Heads. It's a big gore fest, and man, this one, like, they really went there with the gore and the violence and the blood and everything. The main plot, the main story, kind of losing me here. I know that there are some people that were trying to steal these artifacts, like this axe that you can kill somebody with it, but they'll still be alive and just be a head that will get stuffed in the refrigerator. But I don't know, I'm just a little unclear on who's who and what the actual storyline is here. Wasn't really feeling it, and I wasn't really feeling a lot of books this week. I guess that'll bring us to the next one, which is Task Force Z. We're on issue number 5 here, and this one's by Rosenberg, Barrows, McCohen, Ferreira, Vines, and Lucas. I'm just not feeling this. Out of all the kind of Elseworlds, zombies, or vampires, or Game of Thrones, medieval times, alternate universe stories that are going on right now, this is like the least interesting one. I like how Robin references what's going on here, but otherwise, I don't know. I'm just not dealing the whole Task Force Z versus this Task Force and all this Amanda Waller, whatever. Wasn't really digging it. Moving on to back to DC Black Label, we have The Human Target. This is issue 5 by Tom King and Greg Smallwood. I've really been digging this series. I felt like this was the weakest issue. It was kind of weird. It was all over the place, and I know Tom King likes to do that, playing with 3 timelines at once. I think we're getting that again in this issue. This whole passing the salt, triggering memories, giving us some origin of the Human Target character, and kind of how he took on this role as this hero or vigilante or whatever you want to call his line of work. I don't know. I thought it was just a little all over the place and just wasn't as enjoyable. I didn't feel like a connection like I did with the other issues, because the connections with him and Snow are really dope, man. But the Martian Manhunter kind of fetish with fire, that was interesting. But anyway, moving on to DC vs. Vampires. This is issue number 5 out of 12 by Tiny and Rosenberg and Schmidt. And this is kind of like one of the ones I was talking about. I like this series so much more than Task Force Z, but this issue was kind of a letdown for me as well. Like, I was confused. Like, nobody was looking like the vampires, and it was like the Superman and Wonder Woman versus Green Arrow and Batman, but they're accusing Batman of being a vampire, but we already know he's not. I was kind of confused, and then I guess it all gets revealed at the end or whatever. So interesting to see where it goes with the big, tough, strong Justice League heroes, vampires here. I kind of like this story. It's a little bit more zanier, even though Task Force Z is pretty zany, but I like this one better. But this issue, though, was a little confusing, threw me off. And then speaking of Robin, we have issue number 11 by Joshua Williamson, Melenkov, and Guerrero. What's cool about this is that we're past the tournament arc. The Lazarus Pit stuff, the League of Assassins, all that stuff is still carrying over, but it's leading into this new thing. It's leading into this story arc of Damian Wayne going back to Gotham, which is what I'm really excited about. I wasn't really digging this issue so much in the beginning, but I felt like, where do we go now that we're out of the tournament? But now that I see where we're leading, I'm really excited to see this ongoing Robin series continue. Speaking of continuing, we have Action Comics, issue 1040, Johnson, Federici, and Low Ridge. Really dig the main story here. I'm not reading the Martian Manhunter backup. It's like some kind of jokey single life of Martian Manhunter living in an apartment. But I really like this war world story, getting some mythos and some background on a planet that we're on, seeing how Superman is trying to brighten up kind of the gladiators and defeat Mongol without fighting, but just with an uprising of the whole culture of war world. So it's pretty dope. Nice kind of color palette and painted style to the artwork as well. And then it's going to lead us to the last one from DC, which is Batman and Detective Comics, issue 1054, Tamaki, Rayner, and Guerrero. I've championed this book, man, I feel like for years. This is the first arc that I'm not feeling, and it's like we're getting these issues every week. Detective Comics has a new issue every week. This whole Batgirl squad, I'm just not digging it, man. This whole storyline, I'm just not interested in. I do like the House of Gotham backup stories. This one's by Rosenberg, Blanco, and Belair. Yeah, I really like this one because this goes back into the era of Nightfall. Everybody thinks that Batman is dead. Bane broke his back. John Paul is the Nightfall Batman, and it's like telling the story of this regular kid who's coming up, in Gotham. We've seen it in the previous issues. Interacting with Robbins and Jason Todd and just that era. It was very refreshing, and it's cool to get like those kind of like little scenarios that we've never seen during that era. All right, guys, moving on. We're going to go to the indie stuff, and we're going to go with Bolero issue number 2. This is by Wyatt Kennedy and Luana Vecchio. Just like issue 1, man, this is an out there type of series. It reminds me of the OA, if you guys ever caught that show. I dug that show, man. I thought it was like a guilty pleasure. But yeah, this person that can kind of travel within themselves in different multiverses and kind of live out that life for a few days. It's very gratuitous with the sexual scenes, very much an adult comic. And it's kind of quirky in that premise. The character is likable. I'm on issue 2. I plan on picking up issue 3. And then we're going to move on to Step by Bloody Step. This is a new number 1 by Spurrier, Bergara, and Lopez. So the cover looks very much like something like Iron Giant or Me and My Big Robot or something. And that's what it is. It's a silent issue, except there's a couple of panels of dialogue, but it's in alien language that you can't read. It's basically this silent issue of this big, huge iron robot, what seems like a robot, carrying this baby across this war-torn planet. Looks like a war has been finished. But it's got nice art, great scenery. It tells a story without words. It's interesting if you want to pick it up, but that's what you're getting with that. Next up, we have from Image as well, Supermassive, issue number 1. This is by Kyle Higgins, Chris Parrott, Groom, Mana, Ragozzini, Monty, and Carey. A $6 oversized book. And this is the big crossover issue. This is like a thick, almost trade paperback size comic book. So although I think it's cool to see like the Radiant Black series get this spin-off crossover type of team-up book, I'm reading it and I'm trying to get through it, and I'm not interested in any of the characters or anything that's going on here. The artwork is dope, it's flashy, it's bright and vibrant, but I just couldn't really get invested into these characters, and I couldn't really finish the story. Moving on to Gunslinger Spawn, we have issue 5 by McFarlane and Booth. Guys, this is one of the most amazing issues when it comes to the artwork in comic books that I've seen in a long time. Double page spreads, looking like ASM 316 homages within panels, but with modernized coloring and highlights and techniques. Amazing battle between Violator, Clown, and Gunslinger Spawn, and this kind of whole idea to recruit Gunslinger Spawn to help Clown. I don't want to give too much away about that, but I love that book. It almost got pick of the week, man. I'm telling you, the Spawn stuff has been on point. All right, then we have Department of Truth, issue 16 by Tynion, Sampson, Belair, and Bidikar. This was a very trippy kind of like acid trip of an issue, and I really like the premise that they're playing with. It was teased in the previous issues on like these creatures that or these beings that are conjured up by the beliefs of many, right? Do they have instinct? Do they have intent? Can they control? Are they sentient? So that's kind of what they're playing here, with a lot of drug-fueled scenes as well. So very trippy issue. I felt like it wasn't really such a plot forward-moving issue as it was just a lot of explanation and exposition like we're used to with Department of Truth. That's going to bring us on over to Saga, continuing with issue 56, Fiona Staples, Brian K. Vaughan. So I really feel like I'm suffering reading these newer issues, having not read the first part, recently. And I feel like I'm in the Saga universe. I really like the little narration that's placed within so that we really feel like we're watching the same movie that we were watching before, if you know what I'm saying. But I find myself kind of a little bit lost in this world in the beginning, and just like with issue 1, towards the end it starts to ramp up a little bit. You get a little bit more excited. The stakes get raised a little bit, just enough to make you want to continue to read. So I'm going to stick with Saga, but man, really suffering not having read that first part recently. And the last one from the indies from Boom Studios, we're going to go BRZRKR by Keanu Reeves, Matt Kint, Ron Garney, Bill Crabtree with issue 7. I love BRZRKR. It's actually one of my favorite titles that's on the shelves right now. I totally dig it. And I love how they're using this conversation between this organization or therapist or whoever and the Keanu Reeves character as a way to explain like the gravity of him living this long and what that's really like and things that he's witnessed. And hey, what about the Ice Age period? Like what was really going on between that time? And it kind of him flashing back and seeing what was going on and then going to like this mummy or this skull and saying, hey, what about this race? And it was rumored they had telepathy and him kind of playing with that. So I really like it. It has its gratuitous violence as well, his brutal scenes over decades on this planet. And just, interested to see where they continue to go with this story. All right, moving on to Marvel, we have Carnage Forever, issue 1 by Johnson, Ram V, Templeton, Salazar, La Roca, Rosenberg, and Barreto. So Carnage, they had to bring him back. He can't be gone forever. It looks like Cletus Cassidy is gone, but this is basically this kind of Carnage-inspired dark story on how the symbiote returns, and how he returns is gruesome, like you would expect with Carnage. If you're a fan of Carnage or symbiotes, you're going to dig this one, so pick it up, just like Ghost Rider issue number 1. So I'm so glad to see this series is back on. It was canceled. I like the Chris Cantwell run. But now we have Benjamin Percy along with Smith and Valenza. I really dug this. Johnny Blaze is back. I like the premise. He's back with a big scar on the back of his head like he got brain surgery, and he doesn't really know if all this Ghost Rider stuff is real. I really dug it. I like the Johnny Blaze in Hell stuff and him being like the Mephisto down there, if you will, but I'm really interested to see where this goes. The art was amazing. They had the fire and brimstone and demons and all the Ghost Rider stuff that you love. Moving on over to 10 Deaths of Wolverine, we're on issue 3. This is also Benjamin Percy, but he's joined by Federico Vincentini and Dijo Lima. So we find out who that Wolverine is on the cover here, and it's a little bit of a nod to a throwback X-Men story as well, which is kind of like, oh yeah, why didn't I see that coming a mile away? Not going to give away what it is, but I really like the way that they went with it. This is like Wolverine's offspring. It was exhausting with him letting off on his offspring, and tying it in finally to the 10 Lives of Wolverine, and this Wolverine that's bouncing back in between eras, kind of like playing the save state of a video game or something like that. Pretty cool. I mean, this issue was a little bit slow. It's the Moira McTaggart book. She plays a significant role in this issue, as you would expect, on kind of the end of the world, right? This is her last life. She got to do it right, and kind of cool to see that end of the world, last mutant on Earth scene getting tied back to the present. Moving on over to Dark Ages issue 5. This is by Tom Taylor. He's joined by Iban Coelho and Brian Reber. So as this cover would suggest, man, the Carnage symbiote here as well, but I really like how Tom Taylor writes these books where he can throw himself anywhere he would like within a universe, whether it's Dark Knights of Steel or Dark Ages, and just do a big what if. Like, what if the Carnage symbiote did this? And I don't want to spoil it for you guys. This was kind of a we're going to war issue, both sides kind of gearing up for war. The Carnage symbiote is Apocalypse throwing the first missile at these guys. Deadpool in this one, it kind of seemed a little bit unnecessary. Didn't love this issue of Dark Ages, but I'm liking this series as a whole, and I really like what they did with the symbiote stuff at the end. That's going to bring us on to Amazing Spider-Man issue 90. This is by Patrick Gleason, Mark Bagley, Hennessy, Dell, and Valenza. And man, I really like this issue. I feel like ashamed to say that. The dialogue was a little corny in the beginning, especially with the Goblin Queen. Like, Spider-Man says to the Goblin Queen what the fans are saying. Well, wasn't there already a Goblin Queen with Madeline Pryor? Or it's not Goblin Queen, it's Queen Goblin. Oh, that sounds like Green Goblin. I don't know. It was pretty interesting. I really loved the last panel here. I don't even want to show it because it's kind of spoilery. This was such a 90s like trading card panel for me. I loved it. This whole arc is wrapping up to make Peter Parker Spider-Man again, and Ben Reilly now has his own book, and that we're going to talk about now with issue 2 by D. Mateus, Baldione, and Silva. Now, the cover's misleading. I really dislike the cover, but I really like the issue. The art was great. I love this whole Ben Reilly versus Scorpion kind of thing, and this whole Ben Reilly explaining how he's had so many years and decades of Peter Parker's memories and how he'll know if he's fighting the real Matt Gargan or if he's not. A little bit of a plot twist. Not going to spoil it. Really dig the Ben Reilly Spider-Man book. I like where Amazing Spider-Man is going. Interested to see the new creative team take that on. And that's going to bring us on over to my pick of the week. But before we do that, I do want to thank Dynamite Entertainment for sponsoring this video. Make sure to check out their releases this week for Red Sonja issue 6, Vampirella / Dracula Unholy issue 3, Barbarella issue 7, and Purgatory issue 5. All right, guys, and my pick of the week is a total surprise for me. It's an issue 2. Issue 1 I liked all right. It was a throwback type of vibe. But, man, Silver Surfer Rebirth issue 2 just did it for me, man. Ron Mars with Ron Lim, Don Ho, and Israel Silva. Just look at the cover. This reminded me of the insert card from the 1992 Marvel Masterpieces. Thanos vs. Surfer. The whole premise is the Infinity Gems have been given to the Infinity Watch, but someone has stolen the reality gem, which has been altering reality, which causes Thanos to reach out to Silver Surfer to aid him in tracking down the Infinity Gem and getting it back, man. But this was straight Marvel's 90s cosmic in a modern day. So fun and nostalgic and cool and big double page kind of, not spreads, but double page layouts and everything. If you guys like that era of Silver Surfer, like my statue collecting folks, man, you guys are going to love Silver Surfer Rebirth. Go back and grab issue 1, pick up issue 2. Definitely deserves pick of the week. And thank you guys for watching. I want to remind you, Whatnot Wednesday is still going on today, but I'm going to be going live on Thursday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. Got a lot of great stuff lined up for auction. Thanks for watching. Stay minty fresh. Peace.